Okay, so you have to suffer 30 minutes with me. I see that Kulo left. He's a smart guy. Um, so I'm going to talk about some tools that I've used in my life of packager. That's my past life. Now I'm doing nothing, and that made my life much easier. But I think it's actually some tools. Well, some of you already know them, obviously. Some you might not know yet, and we'll see. The reason I wanted to discuss about all that is that packaging is obviously a core part of what we do in openSUSE, because the biggest project inside the project is the distribution. And obviously what we need for the distribution is packages. So it's something that we really need, and we need to make it easy for people to do. And usually when you do packaging for like 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, at some point you find that there are a lot of things that are pretty boring to do and that you don't want to do manually and that you want to just stop doing. And so packaging can be pretty boring and annoying. It's also challenging and very interesting in various ways, but there's a big part which can be pretty boring. And that's the part where we can make life easier for people. So I'll just assume that everybody knows what is a spec file. I won't introduce that right now. But one of the first thing I realized when I started to do packaging is that obviously everybody has its own style and does things differently. But it's much easier if there's some kind of standard guideline for how to do a spec file. Like, well, I should have taken another screenshot. But you can have like a million ways to write this. And when you look at this, and you review things and you just change a package done by somebody else, if it looks different, it takes you a lot of time to analyze and understand correctly. And so one of the first thing that I realized when I started doing packaging, that this was really painful. And so Pavel, Rusnak, and myself started doing a project called Spec Cleaner that some other people have taken since then and hopefully improved, because it was a ugly hack. But it was very useful because you just run that on, well, you can still run it, so you just run this on a spec file, and it actually reformats everything the way it looks, well, the way it should be according to me, but I think it's like what should be one of the current guidelines for spec file formatting. And this helps a lot because once you do that, you need to do it only once, and then you really learn how to properly organize the spec file. And it helps everybody. It just helps not just you, but also all the people reviewing the package later on, all the people also stepping in and doing further changes. So that's a really small tool. It's available in openSUSE. Just install it with this zipper and run it. It's quite convenient. There's a mode where you can just diff the old version and the clean version, so you can see what is different. It's obviously buggy in different ways because it cannot be perfect, but it's pretty nice. And there was a talk about it yesterday. Yeah, so if you missed it, well, you missed it. I guess it was recorded too, so. I also won't talk about OBS, so you know, if you don't know what OBS is, I guess you need to attend a full session about it. What? It's not the same one there. Yeah, we can discuss colors if you want. I mean, it's probably more interesting, I agree.
You're banned from any future marketing session talk.
So OBS. So yeah, if you don't know OBS, that's really the basic tool we need and we use in openSUSE to build the whole distribution. Go look for documentation online, talk online, just watch it. There's a lot of things. One thing which is pretty important, and that's what you see in the bottom screenshot, is that we work with reviews. So we submit a change and people are reviewing it, accepting it, commenting on it, or rejecting it. And this is pretty important, obviously, for the quality, but it's also a way to make sure that the style gets uniform over time. And all of this reviews thing means that we have branches, so people are doing the change in their own branch. And it means that there are a lot of things that, in the end, we need to do to make life easier. So we will see some tools for that. So obviously, OSC, that's the command line tool for OBS. Again, I won't introduce OSC. Just a few comments that people might not know and that are really handy. First one is oscvc, which is, so one thing we do with packages is that we have a log of all the change that we do, and it has a format with like, should have put a screenshot, but your email address, the date, and so on. And it's actually painful to type manually. And just launching this will start your preferred editor, hopefully it's VI, and then you can just type the change.
The religious event takes place somewhere else.
It's not about religion, it's just VI. So that's really a handy command. Over time, we also realized that people are committing stuff, packages that are broken for different reasons. And so there were some tools integrated to OSC that were added to prevent that. So a really simple example is that if you reference a patch in the spec file and the patch doesn't exist, when you try to commit, it doesn't let you commit. And that actually helps a lot. Well, that removes a lot of stupid mistakes that people always do because they walk too fast, and that would make life easier, more difficult for reviewers. So there are a lot of small helpers like that in OSC. And another one, which is nice, I think, and because I wrote it, so it's probably the reason it's nice, is a pdiff. So that's something I needed actually when I wanted to review a lot of things. So when you are in your branch and you want to see the difference with the package, you had to type this long command like osc rdiff, old project, name of package, and your project, and it gets quickly painful. And pdiff is just a short way to say, give me the diff between my package and where it comes from. And it's very handy, nothing to just type that and you have the diff. So it's quite nice. And so pdiff was actually first written as a plugin, and so OSC is extendable with plugins, and it's really nifty because you can do a lot of crazy stuff. So there is a session just after this one about writing OSC plugins. I think it's Michal who is doing it. So I encourage you to stay just to learn about that because you can do crazy stuff with that. And one good example of crazy stuff is the Collab plugin, which is totally huge and a lot of things. It does a lot of things. So that's a plugin that we started to use in the GNOME team years ago because the GNOME team is maintaining like 400, 500 packages. And it's a team of people working together. So there's collaboration. And very fast we realized that people were doing the same thing in parallel and just duplicating work. And so that was bad. And we also realized that there's a lot of things that we could just make easier somehow. So there are a lot of handy commands in the Collab tool. First one, and this is really small, so you cannot read it. But there's a small way to add commands to a package, which are temporary commands. And the way we use it in the GNOME team is to say, oh, don't update to the new version for this package right now. We know it's broken, so leave it away. We wait for the new version. And so it's a simple way to tell something about a package or a new version of a package to everybody in the team. Obviously, it only works if everybody in the team is using Collab. So that's a limitation, obviously. Similarly, there's a way to, I would call that advisory logs, to really tell other people, I'm working on this package. You might not want to change it because otherwise we will conflict. So that's a system of reservation. You can just say, I reserve the package, I will work on it, and then you unreserve it. And otherwise, you'll temporary lock is away after, I think it's 2 days or 3 days. So it's quite nice, especially when there's a new version of GNOME going out. We had a lot of people working on all the updates together at the same point, and they were always conflicting each other and doing the same package, because when you update a huge list of packages, you take the alphabetical order, and so obviously you conflict. So we use that, and it's really really good for that. The next one is the todo command, and so this is one of the commands which is the most used, I guess, for the Collab plugin. This one is really cool. So what we have in this list is really a list of packages where we need to do something. So it could be improved a lot, because I think we could had many other input sources. But right now, the main thing we tell people is that you can work on this package because there's a new version. And so you probably want to update to the new version. So that's what we have. If you look closely, you have 4 columns. The first one is name of the packages. The second one is the version in the parent project. So for GNOME Factory, it would be openSUSE Factory, for instance. You have the version in the develop project, so GNOME Factory, for instance, and you have the upstream version. And what you can also see is small letters, CS, which means that S means there's a submission for this package, so you might want to review it. C means that there's a command for this package, so maybe don't update to the new version, but read the command first. There's also, you can reserve, you see when a package is reserved, and so on and so on. So this is really handy, because when you have free time, you wonder, you have no bug left to fix, and you wonder what to do, you can just type that and see what you can do. And the next natural step is that when you update the package to a new version, well, you can use the update command. So this one is actually the really crazy one and the really magic one, because it will just fetch the new table, it will unpack it to just extract what's new in the table, and it will show you that. It will add the new files, remove the old table, and so on. It will start creating the change entry. And so it's pretty cool, because all of the things which are actually, I would say, boring in the update, it automates for you. And what's left is just checking the diff so that you can see what is different. You can double check you want the update. There's nothing bad. You can see the difference in the dependencies also, so you can update the spec file. And so it's pretty cool. That's really what makes it easy for the GNOME team to update all the packages really fast in the end. I can do a demo if we have some time, we'll see. And after updating a package, what we use is build submit. So what this does is actually it commits your change to your project. It starts a build on the build service, and it monitors the build. If the build is succeeding, it will just submit the package. So in the end, what we usually do is just OSC Collab to do, pick a package, OSC Collab update, change the spec file a bit if needed, update the change entry, and then build submit, and then you can go grab a coffee and you're happy. That's really cool. So for the Collab tool, there's a web page that allows you to show all the data that the Collab is using. So this is hosted on the openSUSE servers, which is really cool because it was hosted on my server before, which was not reliable, and so now it's much better. And so you can also see all the packages. You can see the version in the projects, in the different projects. You can see the upstream version if we have this information, and a lot of things. But it's pretty basic. So, oops. All of this, the Collab plugin lives in GitHub. People are welcome to change it. And one of the most important things that people can do is actually fill the information about how to find a new upstream version for each package. So for that, you have a set of files there. It's actually just adding a few lines for each file, usually just one line. And you just like say, this is on this web page, grab all the tables, and it will just figure it out in the end. So you can fork it, submit a change, I will merge it, and this will just work fine. The next thing, which I think is really nice, is the services on OBS. This is something that a lot of people don't know actually. And in the team that is packaging OpenStack, we started to use that really heavily. It makes our life so much easier that I think more people should really use that. So services can be used either like they can be disabled and then you run them manually, or they can be run automatically and so on. So you can just look at the help of the osc subcommand for that. They can be run server-side, client-side, and so on. What's interesting is looking at a few examples. So this is a simple example of the glance component of OpenStack, how we package it. So what Upstream is doing is that they have a table which is called glance master, for instance, .tar.jz. And you just fetch that, and it's always the master version of OpenStack. It's updated every night and so on. So what we use is a service which is called download files. It will download that, and then you can chain services. So the second service we use is the set version one. It will find the version from the table and update the spec file with that version. So that means that we can really automatically update the whole package for that. And then we use also a service which is called refresh patches. This one is used so that if you had a patch that was merged upstream, so if you had that in the package, it actually gets dropped automatically. It gets removed and the package can keep building, for instance. And if you look closely up there, I don't want to jump, so I will not point it out. But there's the change generate line, which will actually generate the change entry for you. So what you can do is just have that, run it automatically, and your package will stay updated all the time. This is really nice. So what we do, I'll show you that after, is that we run that in Jenkins every night, and that way we have packages, which we don't touch actually. The second example is this one. So this is OpenStack Quick Start. Well, that's just an example. There, what we do is that we package directly from Git. So we don't have a table upstream for that. We just take Git, and the service will grab the latest version in Git in the branch that we specify. It will create a version based on the Git hash, and that's it actually. Then after that, you can recompress. So because what tar scm does is create a tar file, so you usually want to compress it. And then you usually call set version again and refresh patches. So with that, it's the exact same thing that we did with the previous example, except that it takes not a table upstream, but a Git repo. And so, yeah, it works pretty well. So in the end, what we do is that we put all that in Jenkins. So we have a job in Jenkins. It's triggered every night. And we update all of our packages like that. And you can see some red bubbles, which means that usually something needs to be done. So in that case, a red bubble means either that the service was not able to run correctly. That could be, for example, the refresh patches service, which didn't work out because it was not able to determine if a patch should be kept or not. Or that could be something, so what the job is doing is running the services and then building the package. And if it builds, then it commits. So if it's red, that could be that it was not able to successfully build the package. So in that case, it means that somebody needs to look at it. And in the end, what it really means is that we have all of these packages. So this list is just like half of it, I guess, maybe a bit less. And we have all of these packages in 3 different versions that we package, and we actually don't have to care that much about them. We know that it's going to be correct. The only thing that we need to be doing, and that is not being done by the services, is really to make sure that the dependencies are updated from time to time. So it's something that we need to manually do from time to time. This is really useful. I mean, that means that for all of the packaging, it's just done without us really looking at that. So that's really the examples I wanted to share. I'm pretty sure that many other people know about some small comments that make their life easier. So if you have anything that you would like to share with anybody, just now take the microphone and share that, I guess. Or if you have any question. Anyone? Okay, thanks.